The children of Israel had now been in Egypt for quite some time, and the first generation of Joseph and Israel and all Joseph's brother had died. In the meantime, the Jews were busy, getting busy, if you know what I mean. So much so that they became a multitude. But anyway, Genesis chapter 1. Here we go. Now there are names. Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah; Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin; Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. For Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation, they all died. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty. And the land was filled with them. You can only imagine. There was millions of them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph and what he had done for the previous Pharaoh and for all the Egyptians. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that, when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies, and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. Go figure. Well, the hand of God was with them, obviously. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. They're talking about the Egyptians. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. I mean, they were rigor. I mean, like there was no stopping. There was no mercy. Essentially, was what that means. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. But it's sometimes you got to go through some hard stuff to get to the other side. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrach, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, When ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared God, did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives, and said unto them, Why have ye done this thing, and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, Because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively, and are delivered ere the midwives came in unto them. In other words, from what I understood this to be, that the Hebrew women, according to the story, that the midwives were telling Pharaoh was, these midwives are, these Hebrew women are so lively that they give birth before we even get there. Verse 20, Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. A lot of them. There was a lot of them, millions. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, Every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive. There was actually but anyway, that concludes chapter 1 of of the book of Genesis. And again, many people think that these are fables and this stuff never happened. There was actually a video, if I find it, it was an interview with the that a man had with. He used to be a former wrestler in not in the wrestling as you would know wrestling to be. He actually has a podcast now. He talks. Joe Rogan. A man had an interview with Joe Rogan one time, and he's talking to Rogan about how they had found thousands of jars during this this excavation in Egypt, and they had found jars that had babies in them. Each jar had the bones of a baby in it. They found a multitude of these jars. And that in itself is a witness and a testimony of what went on back in that day. Sad. Anyway, that concludes, as I mentioned, chapter 1 of the book of Genesis. If you have any questions or comments, as always, leave them in the comment section below. And peace of the Lord be with you. We will see you next time. Have a good night.